Hi guys, Tom Morrison here, and do you get tight hamstrings? Well, it is great to have a lot of variety in your hamstring stretches, and here are some of our personal favorites. Very first one that we really like is first thing in the morning. This is a great one, or as part of your warm-up. Just start off in an all-fours position, tuck your toes behind you, and then really slowly, so Jenny's going to pretend she's an inflexible person right now, start to see how far back you can get your knees and start to stretch out those hamstrings. So just really focus on trying to feel the backs of your legs. Don't worry so much what you look like. If your back's rounded a wee bit or your shoulders are hunched a wee bit, it's absolutely fine, especially if you're someone who has a lot of strength training and you've maybe done a ton of hamstring work the day before. It's not going to look pretty first thing in the morning, but no one can see you, so it's absolutely fine. So what you want to do is start to walk your hands up towards your walk your feet up towards your hands, nice and slowly. If you can get the legs straight, if not, keep this soft bend in the knee. Just keep trying to focus on getting that stretch in the hamstrings, and stand yourself up, nice and slowly. Reach up as much as you can, squeeze your butt, and then bring your hands back down to the floor again, and just walk yourself back out until you start to feel that nice stretch position again. So you're trying to get the heels down to the floor if you can, and just really focus on staying nice and relaxed. You can shift your hips from side to side a little bit too. Give yourself a wiggle in all of these positions and spend a good few minutes on it until you feel like you've really made a difference. Then if this is just part of your morning routine, you could just add in your next exercises, or if you're warming up for a really good hamstring stretch session, you could then move into the other exercises, which look like this. So what we want to do is send our hips back and away from ourselves with a staggered stance. So have a soft bend in the knee at the front, have your foot facing straight on with the back foot, front foot is straight on as well, and you're looking to square the hips off. So have your hands on your hips and make sure that you're not tilting yourself out to one side and going down this position. So your hips are squared off, you're in your staggered stance, and you just reach forward, trying to maintain a nice flat back as you do this, because you're looking to focus on the hamstring in this position. So if you start to play around here with tilting the pelvis back a little bit more, you may find that you get more hamstring straight away. And whenever Jenny's there and she has a bit of a stretch in her hamstring, first of all, she can then bring her hands down to her shin if she wants to give herself a bit more support and hang out in that position. While she's there, she could straighten and bend the front leg a little bit, or she could straighten and bend the back leg a little bit as well, and start to sink down deeper into that position. If you are less flexible than Jenny, you may find that you round your back in that position. It's still okay to do that, but if you're just starting to feel a stretch in your lower back and not the hamstring, you have to think about, what am I trying to achieve with the movements that I'm doing? So it's not wrong, but what are you trying to get from the position? So if you're only getting a bit of a forward lean and you feel the hamstring straight away, that's where you need to stop. You don't need to try and achieve the hands all the way down to the floor or whatever, try and get some kind of weird Instagram yoga pose thing going on. As long as you're feeling the stretch, that's the main thing. You can also start to wiggle the hips from side to side whenever you're in the position as well. Remember how muscles move. They're able to move in all different ways. They don't just go forwards and backwards. So give yourself a bit of a room. Lean your chest forwards, lean your chest to the left, lean your chest to the right. Have a wiggle in these positions, and then mess around with the leg positions as well. So bend and straighten the front knee and the back leg. Spend 20 seconds on each leg and do that around 3 times. And just keep doing it until you really feel that you've made a difference. So if you're feeling to do a few more sets, throw a few more sets in, it's absolutely fine. Our last favorite sequence that you can use for your hamstrings is great for warm-ups. What Jenny's going to do is set herself into a nice lunge position, and she's trying to focus on getting a nice stretch in the hip flexor of the back leg, and then sinking down into the hips as much as she can here. Then from there, what she does is slowly brings herself back, trying to catch the hamstring on the way back, and then starts to sink herself down into it. So the hip position is kind of similar, but now you've got the floor even more at a more of an angle, more of an exaggerated angle, so you're able to use that as an anchor point to get more of a stretch into that hamstring. So you can hang out there, same idea, you can bend and straighten the knee while you're there, and just rock yourself back and forward, and then you can actually start to play with actually dragging yourself with the heel as well. So you're starting to fire the hamstrings up as well. Each time you go forward and back, try and sink down that little bit lower, and as well, make sure you do both sides. So swap it up. So sit yourself down in a nice deep lunge, get that stretch on the hip flexor and the back leg as well. This is really important to open up the front of the hips too, because if your hips are really tight in the front, that's going to hinder your actual ability to be able to stretch your hamstrings and activate your glutes as well. So really focus on stretching the front of the hip too. So there's a nice double whammy into this one, and then just rock yourself back. Give yourself a wee straighten and bend to that knee. Try and sink down a little bit further, and then drag yourself back to that front position. It's a really nice one before leg day to warm yourself up and get everything moving and firing. So we hope you enjoy this, guys. That is our 3 favorite ones. So remember, the one for the mornings is your downward dog. The one for more intense hamstring feelings and stretching is your standing pyramid stretch. And the last sequence is your deep lunge position to your runner stretch. I think it's called a runner stretch, something like that. Anyway, it doesn't matter. As long as you're feeling that stretch in the hamstring, remember, get the positions as close as you can and then start to have a wiggle in the positions. Don't be afraid to pull your back out of a position and mess around and get yourself feeling hunky-dory, hamstring awesomeness of awesomeness. Keep it going. Remember that no stretches are bad as long as you're feeling what you're wanting to achieve. Just go based on the day after. So if you're feeling your hamstrings are very tender the day after stretching them, then you maybe want to push a little bit less in your next session. So just give yourself a rest. Next time you try, don't go as far. Think about making long-term progress rather than trying to make big leaps as fast as you can, because if you're more consistent and build it up gradually, you're more likely to maintain and keep the ranges that you achieve. Also, if you're always feeling you're getting tight hamstrings no matter how much you stretch, consider your total hip mobility. So it could actually be that you have limited internal rotation, external rotation, or your overall flexion is limited. All of those things can play a factor in how your hamstrings will actually feel. So stretching your hamstrings might not be the thing that you want to do. So not only do you want to have good flexible hamstrings, but you also want to have strong hamstrings as well. So if you want to check out the Simplistic Mobility Method, that will give you a good assessment protocol to use for your overall hip mobility, and it will serve you for a lifetime. So thank you for watching, guys, and keep on moving.